Hi, everyone, and a warm welcome to our special Testmo live stream event. You can join us at Slido throughout by pointing your phone at the QR code here or using the code at slido.com. And I believe we've also got a pinned message on YouTube with a link that you can follow to get to Slido. I'm Simon Knight. I'm the product manager here at Testmo. And today we are very excited to reflect on and showcase the Testmo Reporting Center. Testmo's Reporting Center has been generally available since around April this year. And since we shipped it in April, we've been consistently rolling out new reports, adding in the region of a report each month. And with our August release, we completed the initial set of core reports with the team testing workload report. Since we started this journey in April, the entire reporting center, including all of the new additions, has been in a special preview status accessible to all Testmo customers across all plans. And this has allowed everyone to experience the benefits of the reporting center firsthand. As we've now delivered this first comprehensive iteration of the reporting center, we are officially transitioning reporting center out of preview tomorrow. So going forward, Testmo's reporting center with all of its features will be exclusively available to customers on our business and enterprise plans. During this live stream over the next 20 or 30 minutes or so, we're going to dive into the four key reports that represent the first iteration of Testmo's Reporting Center. So I'm going to cover the requirements and coverage traceability report, the milestone summary and metrics report, the automation metrics report, and the team testing workload report. For each report, I'm going to walk you through a common use case demonstrating how easily you can get the answers you need from those reports. And for those of you who have been enjoying the preview and are not yet on a business or enterprise plan, I encourage you to consider upgrading your Testmo subscription to ensure you continue to have access to these features. We will be using Slido, as you already saw throughout the live stream, to capture any questions and feedback. So if you haven't done so already, please head on over to slido.com and enter the code, type in your questions and hit send. And don't forget, you can upvote questions from other folk on the live stream as well. And as I already mentioned, we've got a link posted on the YouTube chat, I believe also. I'm going to save plenty of time at the end for live Q&A, so please feel free to start thinking of your questions even now. And if you have suggestions for further reports and improvements that we should add to Testmo in the future, I'll be happy to take those as well. So jumping in, I'm going to come out of my slideshow here and go to the first report, which is the requirements coverage and traceability report. So the requirements coverage and traceability report is kind of your go-to for understanding how your requirements are covered by test cases, runs, and tests. So it basically helps you to trace your requirements through your entire test cycle, helping to ensure that you're covering the full scope of what needs to be tested. Requirements, as you'll know, often live in issue trackers like Jira, GitHub, or GitLab. And in Testmo, you can link your requirements to test cases by adding issue references to those things. So a key use case for this report is to track the coverage of a specific list of issues from Jira. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, right? I can see I have some issues and I can see how those issues are covered by test cases. But what I may want to do is identify, whether there's some gaps in my testing coverage, as indicated here, right? I've got an issue that doesn't have any coverage. How do I do that? Well, before you even get to generating this report, there's a couple of prerequisite steps that you need to fulfill. So you need to have integrated Testmo with Jira in the first place, or some other requirements tracker of your choice. You don't have to use Jira. You don't have to use GitHub or GitLab. You can implement a custom issue tracker, and this report will work equally well with custom issue trackers as it will with the sort of out of the box integrations that we have here. But ultimately, you need to have done this. I've already done this in the instance that I'm using here. So I've configured Jira, GitHub, and GitLab. But for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to be using Jira. And I have also set up, the connection and the issue tracking mapping to my projects, which is a step that you'd also need to carry out. So you need to make sure this integration is in place, whatever issue management tool you're using. And the other thing that you're going to need to have done is, in the project that you're working in for which you're using to um, uh, create and execute test cases and ultimately cover off your requirements, is you're going to want to have actually linked your test cases to requirements in the first place. And again, in Testmo, you do that by simply adding the references to the requirements or the issues in your issue tracker in question. So hopefully most of you on this live stream are familiar with what all of that looks like. Um, so just to call out that in order for you to get, good results out of this report, you kind of need to have done those things first. Assuming that you've done all of that, then on the report page, you can select a project. So I'm going to use my juice shop project here. And next in the options section, so still under here, instead of selecting all linked issues, I'm going to choose to enter some specific issue IDs, right? Why am I doing this? Because what I want to do here is I want to identify whether there's any gaps in my coverage, right? So I have requirements that I know need to be covered off by my test cases. So these are my issues that I want to cover, that I want to make sure I'm covering with my test cases, and I want to specify those explicitly. I don't have to do this to run the report, but if there's any uncertainty as to whether all of my requirements are covered, then it's going to be beneficial for me to do this, because by taking this extra step, I'm telling Testmo about all of my requirements, not only those requirements which I've explicitly referenced from my test cases, right? So I'm providing Testmo with a little bit of additional information here that's going to help me get a better result in my report. So having added this, I'm going to just save that. And I think that's probably everything that I need to do here. I'm not going to worry too much about the limit. I don't need to play around with any of these other settings right now. I'm just going to generate my report. And that's basically it. So at the top of the requirements coverage and traceability report, you've got some high-level metrics, including the total number of issues included in the report itself. the test cases, the number of runs and sessions that also cover your requirements if there's any that do so. In this case, clearly there's not. Below that, you've got the coverage chart, the issue coverage chart, which provides a clear visual breakdown of your coverage. And what's fantastic about specifying issues explicitly in the way that I've done is that Testmo can then highlight issues that don't have any coverage. So I can see here I've got one issue that does not have any coverage in my current test plan. So, effectively, I've got a 14% issue coverage deficit. Um, Further down, the detailed issues table provides a granular breakdown for each issue. So for every JIRA issue, in this case, it's showing me what test cases actually cover it, and also what the latest status of those test cases is. And this ultimately gives you full traceability from your requirements through your tests to your test results. And most importantly, for this specific use case, there's an additional table listing specifically the issues that don't have any test coverage, right? This is what we wanted to find out. This table immediately flags the exact JIRA issues that are not currently covered by any test cases, runs, or sessions, which enables you to quickly identify and address those testing gaps. So, requirements coverage and traceability report, incredibly powerful for making sure that nothing falls through the cracks and that all of your critical requirements have adequate testing coverage. Moving on, we're going to take a look at the Milestone Summary and Metrics report, which is this one here. So the Milestone Summary and Metrics report is designed to provide you with a consolidated view of all of your testing activities and results associated with a specific milestone, whether that's a product release, a sprint, or a version of your product. It aggregates results from your manual test runs, your exploratory sessions, and your automated runs into a single comprehensive view, provided they are linked to the selected milestone for the report. So for this demo, my use case is to create a comprehensive release testing report using milestones. So you can imagine that you're preparing for a major software release, let's say, and you need a holistic overview of all of your testing efforts for that release. So again, there's a couple of prerequisites here. In order to use the milestone report effectively, you're going to need to have milestones set up in Testmo, right? And for example, those milestones may be of type release, but they could be for sprints, they could be for versions. A milestone is a placeholder for a bunch of work and testing activities that need to get done. But whichever way you cut it, if you want to use milestone reports, you need to have milestones set up in your Testmo instance in the first place. And you need to make sure that all of your relevant test runs, sessions, and your automation runs need to be linked to the milestone that you want to use to kind of group all of that work, because all of the results of those things can then aggregate up to the milestone level. So you can do this when you're creating or editing your runs. So here I have a run, and I can associate this run with my milestone when I'm creating my run or when I'm editing it. And the same kind of deal with your sessions. So anytime you're creating or editing a session, you can assign it to a milestone. And the same thing with your automation runs as well. You can manually assign an automation run to a milestone after the fact, so after you've published the results to Testmo, or you can pass the milestone in as a value for your automated run via the Testmo CLI. So you've got a few options there, but ultimately, as I've said, what you need to do is make sure the relevant work is associated with the relevant milestone so that, for example, in this view, you can see all of the results are aggregated up. And also in the report, you'll be able to report on those activities. So when it comes to actually generating the report, first thing we do, as always, is to select the project that we actually want to report on. So here's my project, and then I need to select the specific milestone that I want to report on. So I want to report on my release 3.0. Um, And I'm going to do that by selecting the relevant milestone. It's important to note that if your selected milestone has child milestones associated with it, um, the activities in those milestones will be included in the summary charts. But for detailed run, session, and automation run reporting relating to these child milestones, that's not going to get included in this report because otherwise, it would just get too big, right? So if you want to report on activities associated with sub milestones, then you need to select the specific sub or child milestone that you're interested in. Otherwise, if you report on the parent milestone, as I'm doing here, then I'm going to get the stuff that's associated with that milestone in the detailed sections of the summary sections of the report, but the details are going to be excluded. Anyway, if I generate the report now, then I can see in the content section. Because I want a comprehensive report, I've left all of these options enabled. And in the report itself, that means I get my milestone summary with high level information about the milestone itself in this area here, with the test runs, automation and session run counts, the type of milestone, the milestone schedule, so the dates associated with that milestone, and the current status of the milestone. I've got my sub milestone summaries included in the report details as well, as I mentioned. But the details of those things, if you wanted those, you'd need to select the sub milestones in the milestone drop down. We've got the run and session status chart giving us a visual overview of the status of our manual test runs and exploratory sessions. We've got the automation status chart, providing latest statuses for our automated tests associated with this milestone. And we've also got the run and session progress chart. So that shows combined progress and forecasts for all of our test runs and sessions in the scope of the report. And then in the detailed breakdowns, we've got tests, test runs, sessions, and automation runs. So for maximum sort of granular information for each item. We're currently displaying these as cards, which contain a lot of detail about statuses, the contributors associated with the test runs, um, configurations that have been applied, tags, etc. And obviously, including all of this information in card format is very detailed, but can make the report quite long. So one of the things I like to do is actually set these things to lists instead, so that I can shorten the overall length of the report, and see some of this detail in tabular form instead, which I think is arguably a little bit easier to read. But it obviously depends on how many of those things you have in the report in the first place and the amount of detail that you want to see. So that's the milestone summary and metrics report. This report is a powerful tool to gain deep insights into your release and sprint testing efforts by milestone, allowing you to track progress, understand results, and communicate effectively with stakeholders who are interested in seeing them. Moving on to the automation metrics report. So kind of excited to show this one. The automation metrics report is specifically designed to give you a high-level view of your project's automation executions and results. So it's arguably essential for tracking trends, identifying bottlenecks, and helping you to confidently communicate your automation testing progress. It's going to help you to view results from various perspectives, including timelines, timing trends, and test count statistics. So, a common question that product managers like me and stakeholders ask is, are we improving our test coverage over time? And this report can help you to answer that. So again, there's a few prerequisites that you're going to need to satisfy to get the most out of this report. As I already mentioned, automation runs should ideally be linked to milestones, especially if you want to filter your automation results by milestone. Um, that can be pretty helpful. Alternatively, we can use a custom date range to get at that information as well. What I'm going to do with this demonstration, just to show how that works, since we've already kind of covered how to use milestones in the previous demonstration. Your automation runs ideally also need to be reporting into Testmo with appropriate source information. So one of the reasons I'm excited to show this report is I'm actually going to be using our Testmo instance to generate this report. Because it's got good data to do it with, that's one of the reasons. But it's also nice to show you that we eat our own dog food, so to speak, or drink our own champagne, to put it more eloquently. These are our automation testing results for the Testmo work that we're doing right now. So it's great to be able to show this to you as part of this demonstration. But back to my point, you ideally want to be reporting your automation runs into Testmo with some appropriate source naming, um, differentiating between the different types of automation tests that you're carrying out. So, back end API type stuff, JavaScript, front-end Selenium type tests. So I'm interested in my front-end Selenium tests for this exercise. And I'm going to go back to the report itself. So I'm trying to answer the question of, are we improving our front end test automation over time? So let's take a look at how we might try and answer that question. So as always, I need to select my project. So I'm interested in Testmo. And what else do I want to do here? I want to apply a filter for my source, depending on the tests that I'm interested in. Obviously, you could include all of your test automation, but that might not get you the answer that you're looking for. So I'm just going to go for front end. And then to apply a date range to my report, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the time frame to blank. So what that's effectively saying in this report is for all time unless I override this with a different value. And I am going to override it with a different value because I'm going to apply a custom creation date range here. And what I want to do is focus in on the last couple of sprints. So I'm seeking to answer the question of, has our automation coverage improved over the last two sprints? So I know that our last sprint finished last Thursday, and we run 2 week sprints. So working backwards, that's going to put us the 14th of August through to the 11th of September. So that's the date range that I'm interested in. I don't need to make any further changes, so I'm going to group my results by day, and I'm going to leave all of the other content and options checked as by using the default settings there. And I'm just going to generate my report here. So this report is now populating with the data for our front end Selenium tests over the selected sprint period. So things that you would likely be looking at to try and answer the question of, are we improving over time? The run timeline by day chart shows the daily counts of your successful and failed automation runs. So you can immediately see the volume and outcome of your automation tests for each day. So it looks like we were having a bad day here and a better day here. The run metrics by day chart, so that's this one here, displays averages like the number of tests per run, the average run durations, and the thread counts. So run durations here and thread counts here. So to see if coverage actually improved, we'd be looking for an upward trend in the average test count per run. So this value here. And ideally, we'd be seeing decreasing run durations as well. So what this chart is telling me is, our average tests per run have increased over time. So I can see we started here with 842 and we've gradually increased with peaks and troughs to 1052 tests per run over the last couple of sprints. So that's pretty good. And in terms of run duration, so that's this blue line here. So I can actually disable these. We can see that we started at 27 minutes, so about half an hour to run all of our tests. And we've actually increased average run times to 50 minutes over the last couple of sprints. So while that's not necessarily ideal, it's not entirely unexpected either, because obviously if you're adding more tests, it's going to take longer for things to run. But in an ideal world, we'd be keeping this um, relatively low because we want our developers to get fast feedback on their test results. So what this is highlighting to me is we may need to do something about this. But ultimately, answering the question of have we increased our testing coverage over the course of the last couple of sprints? If we're using the number of tests to answer that question, then probably the answer is yes. Um, So the automation statistics table offers you a more detailed breakdown of that information. Um, so looking at the tests per run column specifically, this is clearly going to show whether the average number of tests per run is increasing or decreasing over the period. So again, 842 here, 1052 here. It's interesting to me that some days we had even more than that. So not exactly sure what's causing the fluctuations in terms of the number of tests being run. I'm guessing this is related to the different projects, the different work streams that we have in flight. But it's an interesting thing to maybe pay attention to anyway. But what I'm also looking at here is um, are the numbers increasing or decreasing over time? Increases being flagged in green and decreases in red. You'll also see the average run times column helping confirm if your tests are becoming more efficient. And this table also conveniently flags any days without runs. I actually checked earlier though, and I know that this was a weekend, so no surprises that we don't have any runs on this particular day. So, automation metrics report, a fast and flexible way to track the health and evolution of your automated testing, giving you clear answers to questions about your automation success, failures, and efficiency without needing to sift through a bunch of raw data. All right, let's move on to our final report, the workload report. So, team testing workload report is primarily geared towards helping you see how work is being distributed across your testing workforce. Um, so it provides a consolidated view of your team's testing activity, um, highlighting work distribution, um, potential imbalances, and helping you to make data-driven decisions about test planning and resource allocation. So for this final report, I'm going to focus on a common challenge of, how can I spread my team's testing workload more effectively? So this kind of question is going to be particularly relevant when you're planning sprints or tracking team capacity for I don't know a UAT a testing exercise, or when you're trying to cope with aggressive deadlines. I'm sure we've all had that experience. So again, there's some prerequisites that you're going to need to satisfy in order to get the most out of the report. What are those? Well, you need to ensure that your test cases and sessions are actually assigned to um, members of your team. Uh, so that's one thing that you definitely need to do. I've been doing some testing with this particular test case, hence all the screenshots. Um, so um, yeah, here we go. If we look at a test run, that's probably going to be slightly better. So we can see here who these test cases are assigned to. So yeah, if you're gonna try and use the workload report to see who's working on what and what kind of progress they're making with it, how long it's going to take to get things done, whether you've got an equitable workload distribution, then you're going to need to make sure you're assigning your tests, sessions, runs, etc to folk in order to be able to get that information in the first place, right? So seems kind of obvious, but needs to be called out, I think. And the other thing that you're going to want to do in order to get accurate information out of the report is to make sure you are doing things like adding estimates to your test cases. So if you supply estimates for test cases, then when you're running a report, that's going to help Testmo um, assess how long it's likely to take for those test cases to actually get executed by the person or people that it's been assigned to, or across the course of several runs. And the other thing that's really helpful to do here is when you're executing test cases, if you can record the elapsed time. So you've got two areas that you want to try and focus on if possible. Estimate how long you think it's going to take to run your tests and record how long it actually took to execute those tests. And that means you're going to get more useful information out of this report when you actually run it, because you'll be able to see things like, let's run this report again. What the estimates and forecasted times for running the tests that have been assigned are actually going to be. I couldn't see that very clearly here. I don't know whether there's another group that I can run that against that's going to show that a little bit more clearly. No. All right. All that to say, yeah, that's going to be helpful if you can satisfy those prerequisites. So let's focus on the use case of how can I spread my team's testing workload more effectively. So I'm going to try and answer that question by, as usual, selecting my project. And then in the options section, as I just showed you a moment ago, I can refine by specific users or groups. So I can do something like this if I just want to see a few users. Let's regenerate that. Let's get rid of this guy because he seems to have everything assigned to him. There we go. So we can see a little bit more clearly what some of those estimates and forecasts look like just there. But in the options section, I'm going to use the users drop down to filter for the specific group that I'm interested in, not users, uh, the group here. There we go. So I'm interested in the workload for my QA group here, because they'll be handling the bulk of the testing for the release that I'm interested in. And crucially, in order to see who might be available to take on more work, I'm going to include users without assignments, making sure that even users without any uh, with no current workload actually appear in the report. And I'm also filtering for all active runs and all active sessions to get a current view of ongoing work. So having now generated that report, I immediately get a clear picture of who has got what work. So at the top of the report, you can see summary statistics, so the number of users that are in the scope of the report, the number of tests in total that are covered by the report, and the number of sessions, along with average distributions per user. So around 117 tests per user covered by the report, around 2 sessions per user covered by the report. And the main thing that I'm looking at here is the testing workload chart, and this shows for each tester included in the report bars representing the number of tests and sessions assigned to them. You can also see the estimated time and forecast associated with that work, which becomes more accurate over time as actual durations are recorded. And you can see some of that information a little bit more clearly by toggling these controls on and off at the bottom here. So by looking at this chart, you can quickly spot any imbalances. For example, in my report, I can see that these guys here have the bulk of the work, whereas Bridget, Eliseo, and Valerie don't seem to have very much to do. So, clearly there may be a little bit of a problem there, and I could distribute some of this work a little bit more equitably across the entire team. The user statistics table provides much the same information as the chart, but in more of a tabular format. So breaking down assigned tests, sessions, total assignments, and estimated and forecasted times for each tester. And again, for a deeper dive, you can take a look at the user assignment cards for more granular detail. So for each tester, you can see lists of runs and sessions assigned to them. And you can click through to those things if you need to reassign work as you wish. So team testing workload, a great report for identifying who is working on what, helping you to quickly spot workload imbalances and proactively reassign tasks to ensure a more equitable distribution. As I've mentioned, I'm falling in love with the word equitable as I'm doing this presentation. Ultimately helping you to develop a balanced workload and keep your projects on track and ensure a fair work distribution. Alrighty, returning to the presentation, took a little bit longer than I expected to run through all of those reports, but hopefully you found that valuable. So we've seen how the requirements coverage and traceability report helps you to ensure all of your requirements are covered, how the milestone summary and metrics report gives you a comprehensive perspective into your release and sprint testing, how the automation metrics report helps you track health and efficiency of your automated tests, and how the team testing workload report empowers you to distribute tasks effectively and manage team capacity. I was going to say a bunch of other stuff, but I think I have talked for long enough as of now, so I'm just going to go to Q&A, and I guess we may have some questions, and it looks as though we do. So I'm just going to work through these as best I can from the top. Any plans to introduce a simplified set of reports for those in smaller teams on the team plan? Um, Maybe. If you want to send us some ideas for what that simplified set of reports may include, we'll certainly be happy to take that feedback on board. Is there a way to input the availability of team members? Let's say I have a resource, but only 8 hours per week. Then 100% is not 40 hours. Um, I don't think you can do that on the report itself directly. It occurs to me that that may be something you can kind of set up in the administration console, but I'm not 100% sure, so that's something that I'd need to kind of um, take away and look into. Well, here we go, actually. So in the time zone and formats area of the administration console, you can set your hours in a typical work day, and the days in a typical work week. So these are settings that are available to you in Testmo already. So hopefully that goes some way towards answering that question. Unrelated to this presentation, is there a way to have a test case to remain untested until the last step has been marked passed or marked in progress? Not currently, but I think this is a common request that other folk have asked for as well. So it's probably something that we will address in the future. But yeah, it's not something that we support at present. Is there a way we can easily narrow down the tests to those that fail most often? Um, I feel like there's probably a way of doing this, but I don't have the answer to the question right now. So, Anonymous, if you want to leave your details in the chat somewhere, I'd be happy to kind of look into this and try and figure out what the answer is and send you a quick email or have our support team reach out with the answer after this call. I feel like I need to kind of think about what the best approach to this is. And it would also be good if you can clarify whether you're talking about automated or manual tests as well. I suspect you may be talking about automated here. Are there plans to introduce AI filtering capabilities that can automatically create or suggest test suites based on reporting for each release? I think broadly speaking, the answer to this question is yes, but maybe not in exactly the way that you're describing here. There's AI is definitely getting a lot of focus from us at present, and the ability to surface and easily act on insights that are being generated um, through your testing activities is, definitely something that we would want to support with our AI integrations in the future. So The answer to this question, I think, is yes, but with caveats, and watch this space. Are there any ways to move test results between test runs and maintain their status? No. I think if you want, you can't move test results between test runs. Test runs are containers for instances of tests, and the results belong to those tests. So if you have a specific test case, um, yeah, there's just no way to do this. So sorry, the answer is no. Okay, no more questions. So I'm going to move on. Common request that we get in live sessions like this is what's coming up on the Testmo roadmap. So I'm going to cover that off real quickly before we say goodbye. So we are currently working on API endpoints to help you manage test cases. So create, read, update, and delete cases, endpoints. Same thing for folders, same thing for attachments. This is in progress right now. I expect we will be shipping these endpoints within the next months. So maybe in our October release, we'll be shipping at least some of these endpoints, if not all of them. After we're done with managed test cases API endpoints, well, we are actually currently working on this as well. So making it easier to see and navigate the folder structure in the Testmo repository. So we're actually working on this currently, but it will ship slightly later than the test case API endpoints, hence in the next column here. But again, I expect these changes will ship before Christmas. AI for Testmo is also something that we are actively working on. So first feature that we'll be implementing will be AI test case generation with a view towards speeding up your test case design workflows and making it a bit easier for you to focus more on the activities of doing the testing rather than writing and planning the testing. So that's something we're working on currently. And then later down the line, further AI features. So, surfacing and helping you to handle testing related insights, possibly in the way that I spoke about a few moments ago. We've also got, lots of other things that we're looking at that we can support you with through the thoughtful implementation of AI integration. So watch out for those. Also, still looking to integrate Jenkins CI with automation launching, so making it easier for you to connect to your Jenkins instances. Improving our CLI capabilities to automatically link automation tests with your test cases in your Testmo repository. So that's something we want to do. And general improvements to the Testmo workflow and notifications that you see from test changes, comments, assignments, that kind of thing. So I think that is my final slide. I've got nothing further. It's been an absolute pleasure to join you all today. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Please hit like and subscribe on our Testmo YouTube channel, and stay tuned for the next live stream, which we will be planning very shortly after this one. Thanks, everybody. See you at the next one.